What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Fire Session podcast. It's your girl, Daisy J. I'm here with my boy, Big King. We have our special fire friend, Miss Sharonda, in the building, and my boy, Jack Cannon. What's up, y'all?
What's up? What's up?
What's up?
Hey,
Hey, hey, hey.
so Sharonda, welcome.
Oh, thank you. Thank
King.
you. Thank you.
So we finally
Welcome.
got you here.
Right.
We've been trying to get her on, y'all. So, how was your week?
It was a very busy week. It's the end of the semester in my district. So, end of semester means everybody wants to turn in late work.
Hmm.
Everybody feeling the effect of procrastinating.
Mm,
And I'm calling parents.
right,
Oh,
right.
oh, oh,
Wow.
Jack, what's
My
up,
week.
Jack?
man.
Well, how was your week, Jack? I know you
My,
had
w-
a busy week.
I had a good week. I had a really good week. I've been like good busy.
Good, busy.
And I'm, reaching towards my goals for 2021. Like the relationships with the new people, like things are kicking off already. So
Hmm. I
been,
see you. I be
I've been
creeping.
working hard. I've been
Hmm.
working hard. I'm proud of myself. So
I'm proud of you too. I see you shot one of my friends this past weekend. I was like, look at
look
him.
at that. It's
I
not
know
throwing that
everybody
heat.
though.
Like, yeah,
I know
see?
everybody.
Everybody, I'm with Daisy.
I
Next
mean,
time you see me in the streets, I'm with Daisy.
I mean, I'm out there.
Put a
I'm just
stamp on it.
yes, positive stamp. Okay,
See?
King, what's up? How was your week?
Man, my week was busy as well. It's the end of the fiscal year for my company. So you know what that means, kind of like the end of the semester, people scrambling, trying to turn in stuff and trying to get stuff done at the last minute. So
Bones, right?
yeah, it's one of those type of deals, but I can't complain because guess what? Today is Friday.
Praise God. All
Friday.
Right.
praises there.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
hey, I'm here for it. This was a great week for you, girl. My girl Ronnie, who is a fire friend, released her website launch this week, and your girl was featured. So I've been popping on the internet
Okay.
this week. So go check that out.
Yeah, y'all go
Yeah.
check that out because this. I mean, the
Okay.
picture, the pitch. Hold on, the picture I saw. I was like,
Look.
Oh,
okay.
y'all was doing that. Oh, okay.
So that's what we own.
Yep. Yep. We
Oh,
grown about this. We grown about this. Must
yeah,
be 18 or older to
yeah,
see this
yeah,
website.
yeah,
Nothing
yeah.
bad. Just pop by,
Parental
browse through.
advisory on that picture.
It really is. But it is though. You didn't see it, but it's there. It's
Ah,
past it.
man.
Oh,
Go to my page if y'all want to see what I'm
Lord.
talking about. Anyways, y'all, we got a good subject for y'all today. We happen to have a ton of educators. I don't know how they do it, but they do on the panel. Today's topic is education during the pandemic. And I can't wait to hear the ebbs and flows of everybody's situation. Ken, what's up?
Y'all, this is one of those situations. If you watched the last episode, we talked about parenting during the pandemic. So this is like a continuation of kind of like that pocket because I think it goes hand in hand, right? Because as parents we're supposed to be part of the education of our children because we're supposed to be a continuation of when that child goes to school we're supposed to assist, and when they come home we're supposed to continue those things and continue helping them.
Right.
Well, this pandemic is pushing the button for everybody because it is not easy to navigate these waters because guess what, they're unknown. This is the
Yeah.
first time we're having to do a lot of these things, and the kids are having to make a lot of different adjustments. And as we stated last week, I think a lot of people are missing like things because they're trying to, I guess, go about everything the same way as they did before the
Correct.
pandemic, and you had to retool and come at it a totally different way, and they ain't doing that. And
Yeah.
we'll get a chance to talk about that because some of us started out the pandemic and we were good. We had a schedule and we doing all this stuff, and then as the year kind of went, then summer hit, and we was like, okay, let's get a break. Then school started back, and we like, eh. So we're gonna talk about that because we got the expert on the panel, Miss Sharonda
Mhm.
Williams. She's
Wow.
a teacher. She's a counselor. She gets it from all aspects. So we're gonna
Yes.
pick her brain today and
Yes.
ask her some questions, along with talk about our own personal experiences as parents at home, because we gotta wear a bunch of different hats as well. So we getting a taste of what the kids do at school. So some of y'all that swore y'all kids wasn't bad at school, now you know. Now,
Yeah.
now you know
Yeah. Say
Jack, I'm like,
what?
your
yeah.
kids are
What?
terrible.
Man,
So I guess we'll start out with Daisy, and Daisy, kind of talk about your girls and like your day to day experiences with trying to help them as you work at home as well, because I think that's the case for a lot of parents that work from home, and then they have the kids at home, so you have to do what you need to do and help them. So how's that working out for you?
So at the beginning of this situation, I was already working from home. So when everything hit, the adjustment was just really them being there. What sucked is they only had one laptop, so it was like in shifts. My oldest would do her stuff first, and then she would help my youngest daughter because the way my job was set up at the time, I really couldn't like help as much. And then my job, we had to adjust a lot of other people to be at home because we have a building in Louisville and then everybody else work from home. So it was a big adjustment for everybody. But I will say that my youngest, she's dyslexic. So
Mm,
last year, we might as well say we didn't have a last year. We actually moved 2 months before the pandemic hit. We moved into our house, so we moved to a different school, and so she like had literally maybe a month at this school to get to know the counselors, the teachers before they were at home. So it was rough on her. And then when school started for this year for 2020, 2021, it was hell on us.
man.
Like having to figure out like the curriculum, teaching her how to use Google Meets and all of that. Like, I don't think that that was fair. I feel like somebody should have did a video over the summer for parents, and then that way we would have known how to get into everything. My oldest daughter, she's a breeze because she's a computer geek. Like that's all she do is sit on her laptop all day long and play Roblox and all of that crap. So this was nothing for her, but for my 8-year old, it was like okay. And then I'm like, okay, I'm 33. I can't teach you how to use this computer because I'm I'm a good trainer, but I'm a bad trainer. I'm like, okay, I do it like this. So do it like this. I'm up here teaching my 8-year old how to like, okay, just close your computer, don't lock everything down so that way we don't have to do this tomorrow. Like that's sad to me. But I ended up letting them go back to school because I was like, we gonna risk it. We gonna take us some elderberry and we just gonna risk it because I can't teach you properly. My 8-year old,
hmm.
you're dyslexic. I can't get on your level because that's not what my degree is in. I'm sorry. I don't know. And she's better now. I mean, they've been back to school and she's doing great with the hands on learning versus virtual learning. She
Yeah.
didn't get that interaction from her teacher.
Yeah, that takes a specialized, teaching, to be able to teach a dyslexic child.
Hmm.
So, yeah, that wasn't gonna work, and Sharonda might be able to say more about that as far as virtually. But I'm like, I don't even begin to know how you would go about trying to do that virtually,
Right.
especially if you got a teacher who has a child in the classroom with a bunch of other kids, and you got to tend to these other kids as well as the kids that have to have what I'm saying, like some special instructions as well.
Right.
So, Sharonda, how is that going with with a child that's dyslexic or people that have to be I guess inclusion like into the
Right.
classroom? Like, how are these teachers kind of virtually having to, and then they got kids in school and at home. They trying to teach at the same time. Like, how's that even working?
Right. So, as far as for what I can speak for students who are dyslexic or receiving Section 504 services, sometimes they are given an inclusion teacher, but that is kind of in our district, we have dyslexic specialists
Hmm.
that kind of help with the students as well. But here is the issue: teachers are overwhelmed.
Hmm.
So in my school, you have the in-person teachers, I mean in-person students, and you have virtual students, and they're teaching the students at the same time.
Hmm.
So those students who are on campus are basically there with their laptops,
Yeah, mosquito
okay,
same way.
doing the same thing.
Hmm.
So that can be a challenge within itself because what happens is what I've heard from some teachers, they are focused on the virtual students, but the in-person students are just kind of doing their own thing. Like they're there for in-person instruction, but at the same time, they're still in front of the laptop
Right.
or the Chromebook or whatever they have.
Right.
Now, as far as going back to dyslexia, I'm at the high school level. So Ken, I really don't know how they are attending to, the elementary age. By the time they get to me, they've had their dyslexia lessons and they're pretty
Yeah.
self
Okay.
sufficient. And they can figure it out. But for the most part, yeah, it's I'm assuming that people they have team teachers and things of
Hmm.
that nature to help with students who may be receiving Section 504 services or special education services.
Okay. And Daisy, I want to go back to you said your babies had one laptop. Do they have multiple laptops now? I know they
Now
went
they
back
do.
to school, but now they do because I figured that when this first happened, a lot of schools weren't prepared,
Mm.
with technology, of
Yeah.
course. So they only sent, what they could home,
Right.
and then once they started back to school this year, I was under the impression that a lot of these schools were giving
They did.
these kids laptops and hotspots and things of that nature. But we're going to talk about that as well because a lot of these schools gave the kids the technology, but in some areas it still doesn't work well, and we're
Right.
going to talk about that because of the economical effect of a place like South Dallas where you really don't have a lot of towers over there, so you got kids that have a hotspot, but the hotspot it don't get it doesn't have great
Hmm.
signal
Hmm.
Right.
because of the area that they're in, and there's no fault of theirs, but you got a lot going on, and it's like the resources on that side of town are not the same as they are in other sides of town.
It's not.
So these kids were already kind of struggling in person learning.
Hmm.
So when they went home, it just opened up a whole nother can of worms.
I'm not gonna lie to you though. It feels like my kids was the only kids that was at home this past semester because when I dropped them off, it's tons of kids.
Man,
I'm like, what the hell? Wait a minute. The school is full. What was y'all the only ones that wasn't going to school? Like I don't understand. What happened?
people out there living.
Y-
Yeah.
Yeah, I think more people had to go back to work. So in turn, those kids had to go back to school. Like they really didn't have a choice because it was either that or just leave them at home. And y'all know how I go. I mean, when I was a kid, if I was in this situation and my mom left me at home to I'm supposed to be doing work during the day, I'm probably gonna be tapping on Nintendo buttons and doing all that while I'm supposed to be in class.
Correct.
My kids don't
So,
have that luxury. We live as a village. You got grandma at home. You got
yeah,
auntie at home. What you gonna do? You gonna do that
yeah.
work?
Yeah,
You
so
gonna do
see,
that work?
that's a blessing to have that, and like for me, it's a blessing for my job that I can work from home, so
Mm,
I can be home. And like we were discussing before the show, you got Big Ken, the principal. I'm the lunch dude. I'm the hall monitor, and I gotta do my own work that
mm.
at my own job. It's a lot, so I feel a lot of you parents out there who have a ton of stuff to do, along with try to help your kid during the day.
Right.
So, y'all heard about Daisy's, situation, and she sent her kids back to school, which a lot of people that I talked to sent their kids back to school too.
Yeah.
So, but see, Jackie has smaller kids. So, Jackie, tell us about, how you all are dealing with the pandemic as far as education with your kids.
Man, it's been definitely rough for me, and especially feel bad because I'm a former educator, so I get how frustrated I would be with the stuff that I'm doing now, like not signing on all the time, and it's not that I'm doing it on purpose. Like I got turnaround time. I'm a photographer, so my turnaround time has to be fast, or that moment is gonna win. Like yo, or you get that person like, hey, well my pictures, I want them like soon as you took them, I wanted them like yeah. So I'm always busy with something, so sometimes things fall in the cracks, and it's like Jackie, you know better. Like at this moment, you know how important it is.
Hmm.
Just as for structure, but definitely like lagging and falling behind. Like thankfully my kids are like smart. Like they could read. Like my son could read my daughter and all her letters and sounds and stuff like that. And she's not in kindergarten yet, but the things I take for granted, like they could go further in their education or be more prepared or go to the next thing. So for me, it's like it's that and trying to balance everything. It's definitely rough, and it's like, how could you say that? And you got 26 kindergartners in your face. Now it's only your three, but that 7-month old, 8-month old, She take it all. She take it
Mm-hmm.
all. Like I learned to do a lot with one hand. I'm so serious. She
Yeah,
crazy.
that's facts because I have
Man, so,
seen on video. Like I ain't gonna lie to you. There's a few people at my job that was in meetings holding a baby.
I
man, it's
mean,
tough. That baby make it. Whoo, it's
Like
hard. I'm sorry. Yeah, I have a baby. I be trying. I gotta give my
mm-hmm.
customers what they want. They gotta like recommend Jack Cannon. Like, come on. Like, I'm grinding here, teachers. I'm not doing this on purpose. I'm sorry. I know better.
Yeah.
They working out though, and they
You run.
cleaned up, so they gonna be able to follow instructions when they get back.
You see,
and
I'm looking at you.
Do it.
and see that's I think that's the biggest thing too. That's the other question that is gonna come up later is how are these kids gonna adjust to actually going back to school when they get there because it's a meme that says my mama said, and that's what a lot of these kids gonna be on, that type of energy because they've been at home for a whole year and mama been teaching, so the way mama teach is not the way that a teacher's gonna teach and they just are used to that, you know what I'm saying, or the process which Sharonda warned us about before the show. People, she said you got to have a routine.
Yes.
Yes,
You have
routines are very, very, very important. So, me working with high school students, let me tell you what I'm noticing, and we talked about this before, like you said, kids are rolling out, students are rolling out of the bed 5 minutes before it's time to log on. So when I go into the classroom and I'm doing classroom guidance or just doing classroom visits, I'm looking at bonnets. I'm looking at hair all over their head. I'm looking like you haven't combed your hair in days. It's dark. You're in the bed. So this is my recommendation as far as it relates to routine. Parents, please keep them on a routine. I know that that's difficult, and I'm saying this. I don't have any children, but I have a 14-year-old nephew that lives with me, and we have issues all the time. You have to keep a routine because eventually we're going back to school. Now, how we will go back to school is going to be interesting. Do I feel like we're going to eventually go back to 5 days? Probably not, because this hybrid model is going to jump off. Just watch what I say. Give it a few years, and I really don't believe we're going to see school in the traditional manner that we've seen it in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So here are my recommendations. Let's say, for instance, you have your kids go to school from 8:30 to 3:30. 8 o'clock, 7:45, take showers, wash face, eat breakfast as if you're going to school.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever they have a break, make them get up, walk outside, walk around the house, just the same as a passing period. You
Yep.
got 5 minutes, you got 10 minutes, or whatever. Do that. Go back and sit down in the classroom. Now, this is another thing that I've noticed that students are doing. Teachers we're on a block system, meaning that we only have 4 classes per day. It's an hour and 30 minutes. Teachers are not teaching the full hour and 30 minutes. They
Mm-hmm.
may be on for an hour and 30 minutes. So they're giving students the opportunity to do their assignments while teachers are there. But what happens once the teacher teaches the content, you have some students like, I'm done. Let me go get on the game. Like this one here. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
they want to play the game for the 45 minutes that they could have been doing work. So
Mm-hmm.
what happens around 5 or 6 o'clock, you have 5, 6, 7 assignments that have to be done before 11:59 in order for you to get your attendance accounted for the day.
Mm-hmm.
So what has happened? You've lost a lot of your classwork time, and now everything is piling up at the end of the day. So
Yeah.
now it's 12, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. Some of your assignments are late because you missed 11:59, but you've procrastinated all day. Okay. So it's very important that you keep them in a routine as much as possible. At
Mm-hmm.
lunchtime, they don't have TVs at school for lunchtime. We used to play music. Why do they need to watch TV? If anything, they need to give their eyes a break and
Yeah.
they need to be outside or looking out of their window. With that being said, parents, please do not allow your children to sit in dark rooms while they work.
Ooh.
That will mess with their mental health
Mm-hmm.
quickly. Anybody knows that if you sit in darkness, darkness will become a part of you.
Yep.
So it's very important that if you're in a neighborhood where you feel safe, where you know your neighbors, open the windows or open the blinds rather. Natural light is so important.
Yeah.
You cannot allow them to sit in darkness because that darkness will creep in and everything will start to creep into their brains. So
Mm.
it's very, very important. That's one of the other things. When they are done, going back to the routine, when they're done with school for the day, give them a break, just as if they were riding a bus home, as if they were in the car going home.
Mm-hmm.
30, 45 minutes, give them a break, let them eat, and get back to homework. So it's very, very important that you keep a routine. Now, easier said than done
Yeah.
because we're all in COVID fatigue. We're
Right.
all in COVID fatigue, and we don't really know how long this is going to last. So routines are very, very important.
So
I
break that down for me though. You saying COVID fatigue. Now I know we talked about it a little bit before the show, but break that down for people exactly what you mean by COVID fatigue.
We're tired. We are okay. So here's the thing: none of us have ever lived in a pandemic. None of us were ever around in 1918 during Spanish flu. None of us, we don't know that. I don't know if you all can remember. Do y'all remember when the Super Bowl was in Dallas or NBA weekend, All Star weekend, and we had that back those years back to back, and it snowed, and we
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
were at home for 5 days, and y'all know we kind of had all type of cabin fever.
I lived in
Panicked.
Oklahoma at the time. Yeah.
Yeah, panic mode. But here's what happened: our routine, our life changed just like this.
Yep.
Okay. We went from being at school to wearing masks. A lot of us are tired of wearing masks, but we have to wear masks, and I don't foresee masks going away anytime soon. A lot of us are tired of being in the home. In the home, when I say COVID fatigue, we're tired of just kind of the isolation.
Mm.
Tired of not being able to socialize, not being able to communicate with people in our norm. And
Mhm.
let's just say this. Let's be honest. Some of us have never spent this much time with our families,
True.
Facts.
Man.
right? Okay,
So
so in a normal world, you get up, you go to school, you go to work, you come home, you eat, you do homework. You see
Mhm.
your family maybe 3 or 4 times out of the day. Then it's time to go to bed, and we start this all over. Now, don't have sports and stuff on the weekend. You're really not going to see your family or things of that nature. So
Yeah.
what happened? We are spending more time with our families than we have ever done.
Mhm.
So now we got to adjust to a new norm, and now we have to really, really get to know our families in ways that we didn't think we would know them before. You know what I mean?
Facts.
We
Mhm.
learned a lot about our family members during this pandemic. Okay.
Mhm.
So it's just a lot going on. We're tired. We're frustrated. We don't foresee COVID going away anytime soon. So
Mhm.
that's what I refer to when we talk about COVID fatigue. People are just tired of the pandemic. And if we go on like the Spanish flu, we at least have another year of a pandemic.
Yeah, and so I think we've talked enough about through our personal experiences, kind of talked about the educational effects. But if you have more detail that you want to talk about, Sharonda, on that, the
Okay.
educational effect of this pandemic, and because when you look at it, we talked about the kids being behind. Like when they start going back to school, because there's certain things that they're missing at home that they're not getting. When they actually get back into a regular or the new norm of a school environment, like some of these kids are going to be behind because they just haven't been, getting what they need at home.
Right.
Right. And some of them were behind before we started. If we want to be real,
Facts.
if we want to be just transparent, we had people, students who were behind before the pandemic. And so we're gonna have to do a lot of work for us to catch up. But here's the thing. I think parents, not to say parents that you all never appreciated the education system or teaching.
they didn't appreciate it.
But y'all appreciate us. You know what I mean? You
Man.
appreciate us. You appreciate us because we're working hard during this process. But we're gonna have to work even harder when they come back. Now, the good thing about students, they're very resilient. Children are resilient.
Yeah.
Like they bounce back and we don't give them enough credit. So can I really believe when it's time for them to go back, some of them are going to be so excited to be back and so excited to be around their friends that I believe that
Mm-hmm.
a lot of them are going to be compliant. And at the end of the day, kids love structure.
Yep.
Students love structure. As much as they, try to fight us, they love it. They love structure. And so I believe when we get back, yes, it will be an adjustment, but we're going to have to really find innovative ways to get them back on target. But I'm gonna tell you, I'm a firm believer. We're not gonna get to the point where we need to be until all stakeholders are involved. So
Yeah.
parents, hopefully parents will be more involved because usually they would just send us their children. We wouldn't see parents. PTA meeting out of 2,700 students in the building, you may have 10 on PTA. I really hope that once we return, teachers will be more involved, community stakeholders will be more involved, and then at that point, we can, cause this whole education world to evolve. But it's going to take some time. I think it's going to take us years to figure out how to get back to a quote unquote normal in education. Now, there is going to be a push to get kids back because if I can be really transparent, education is pushed by politics and economics.
Yep.
Yeah.
Money.
So, we got these state tests. They're really upset with the Mike Morath with the Texas Education Agency because he's not going to waive STAR this year. And last year the kids got a waiver,
Mm-hmm.
and we were only gone maybe a month before STAR. Now we know that we've had even more issues now. So we have to understand there will be state tests and at stake. You have to think about kids taking SAT. There are only so many years they're going to allow kids to go to college without the SAT, even though I feel like it's really not needed. But you know what I mean?
Right.
There are a lot of things that are involved in that. So because there's so much money involved in education, there's so many politics, I believe there will be some people that will really, really try to raise those levels because if the children don't perform, people don't get paid.
Right.
Facts. Okay. Okay. Well, let's talk about this. That's the educational effects. Now, one big thing that I think a lot of people are not paying attention to is the emotional effect
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
on these kids. Daisy, have you noticed the difference in your girls since the pandemic started? Even though they went back to school, but have you noticed the difference in your girls at home versus when they were going to school?
Can I have a 13-year-old who has a cycle? So it's always something going on. I'm like, look, little girl.
Right.
And my mom was like, that's just how you act. No, 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 no. I stayed to myself. I didn't act like her. She got a mouth on her.
At least you didn't
So
think you did. You
I
didn't think
didn't.
you
Right.
acted
I
like
didn't.
her.
I didn't. There's no proof. There's no social media to prove it. So, huh? Um, like I got social media for them. But no, my oldest, she's a hermit, anyways. But her going back to school, I'm impressed. She learned how to play the French horn. She know how to read music now.
Oh, that's tough.
I'm with you with the whole darkness. Like I'll go in there, flip, what you in here doing? And I'll leave that light on. And I know she'll turn it off, but it's gonna be, you're gonna get a good 15, 20 minutes of this fluorescent lighting in your room. Like I just, but my kids, my youngest, she's very like rainbows and sunshine. So this affected her like, what you mean I can't go outside? What you mean I can't go to my friend's house? I can't go to my daddy's house? What? Like she took it hard.
Yeah.
So we had to start walking. So
Yes.
as a family, so we had to stop walking because that's when all that Black Lives Matter stuff started happening. But everything is good now. We good now, but it's cold outside. But anyway, um, but yeah, we had to start walking and getting them out the house. And so I take them on drives. We do our Sunday drives where we go get some Brahms and we do our highs and lows. Talk about how our week was. With my oldest, I noticed I had to start doing more like she's girly, but it's like what do you want to do, to get her going? So we have our routine going to the nail shop. But I was like, there's a lot of stuff I let them slide with last year because I didn't know what was going to happen. I literally was living last year like it was my last. I'm not even going to lie. Like, look. this pandemic scared the hell out of me. Okay, so I'm gonna be very transparent. I was doing a lot of shit. If I flirted with you last year, don't take it. Don't be mad at me if I don't flirt with you this year. It's just I thought I was gonna die, like for real. And so with my kids, I let them slide with a lot of stuff. That now we are very structured. Like, okay, I have to give you something to do. I have to give you weekly goals, and vice versa. I had to give myself weekly goals because we didn't die and we got to live and do what we got to do. But yes, I did notice a super change in my youngest daughter, but she's emotional.
Hmm.
She's a Pisces. She shows you everything. She's like, "Mommy," she's like that. And it's like, "What's wrong, baby?" Like she lets me talk to her and hold her and all that stuff. Whereas my 13-year-old is like, "Don't touch me," don't. She like that though. She don't like people touching her, hugging her, like none of that. But yeah, it was definitely a transition.
And what about you, Jack? You got little ones.
Yeah.
You got little kids, so I'm interested to hear how they were affected, or even if what do they notice the difference of?
Well, their sleep patterns are off, and a lot
Hmm.
of that is I take a lot of that blame because it's like we were going with the flow. Like in my opinion, as long as you get it done, you get it done. Like
No, Jackie.
they're not, but no, and this is why. Like my kids are not logging on and having like a meeting with the teachers like live. Like they're pre-recording. They're sending stuff.
Mm.
They're sending the packets. It's I forgot the name of the learning style it is, but it really doesn't fit my kids. Like Peyton, when his teacher is she have times where she will let him log in with the rest of the class and go live and he pay attention. He does well with that, but sending the work, like he fly through it.
Hmm.
Like and then like, did you really get that? It's like, yeah, I got it. He needs to be he needs to be in school for the social side of it.
Hmm.
So my daughter, she actually missed it. Like he's fine with hurry up and breathing through his work. And he done turned into the Minecraft kid. So
Mm.
I got those kids. They do it and then they go on about their day. So it's just hard to like stretch it out. So hearing you talk
Hmm.
about a schedule is like, there it is.
It's
Yeah.
They
something
need that
wild.
schedule, that routine. Like, and I know I need to get back to that, but the level of comfort is real. Like, man, I gotta get these gigs. This baby girl over here crying, like she don't want to be put down. Like, goodness, it's a lot, man. It's
Yeah.
definitely a lot.
Yeah, I know that's a lot for you because you got a baby, and see, with me, I have a 16-year-old, and then I have a 9-year-old. The
Right.
9-year-old, for a 9-year-old, she's very self-sufficient. She does, like, she's very intelligent. Thank you, Lord, for blessing me with intelligent children,
Hmm.
because I don't have to do a lot of hovering over her.
Hmm.
But with each of my kids, I do, every so often, every 30 minutes, an hour or so, just get up and walk in there and see what they're doing, make sure they're on task. Kind of like the principal at school, walking by the door, looking in the door, making sure everything going well.
Joker.
Now, what
Yeah.
I do have to crack down on, and thank you, Sharonda, for saying that, is my oldest son, well, my youngest son, who's still here, the 16-year-old, he does like to sit in the dark. And I'm going to have to start cracking down on that, because I'll go in there and flip the lights on, but a lot of times he has these strobe lights, and he likes to sit and be cool with the
Oh,
strobe
he's
lights going.
bored.
So yeah, so I kind of
LEDs.
yeah, so I
Yeah.
kind of I kind of let him rock out, but he does need some sunlight. He does need some, some natural light, and for him, it's a little different because he's an athlete. So throughout the pandemic, he was still going out, going to football practice and things of that nature. So at least he was getting, some fulfillment on. He was getting out the house. He was being socially, interactive with his teammates and still getting out that way.
Hmm.
So, but my baby girl, she wasn't going anywhere. Like, she
Right.
wasn't going to school. She wasn't going out much, because I can't lie to you, at the beginning of this thing, like, I didn't know what to expect. My son is asthmatic as well, so we were just trying to shield him as much as we could,
Hmm.
but not restrict him from playing football. So that was kind of a difficult thing. But we just tried to make sure we did everything we could possibly do to protect us. But baby girl, I think she suffered the most because she didn't leave the house. So
Right.
like Daisy, we had to start going for walks. we would drop my son off at football practice, then we would come home and go for a walk and try
Mm-hmm.
to get her out the house that way, and just try to take her places, and maybe, when restaurants open back up, daddy daughter date, let her go out, and sit down and eat and things of that nature. Try to do some regular stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But emotionally, for her, she has become super attached to me, and that's not a bad thing per se in my eyes, because she's daddy's girl.
Mm-hmm.
But my thing is, like I told her today, when you get ready to go back to school, daddy's not gonna be here to give you high fives and hugs all day. Like, you're gonna have to get reacclimated to,
Yeah, real world.
your world. So, that's the only thing I'm kind of
She
worried about.
she doing it for you. She is a butterfly.
I mean, I don't know, and but like Sharonda said, I'm hoping that, the fact that she does strive, she does thrive in educational settings, that when she goes back to school, that flip, that switch will just flip, and she'll be, back to her norm and be able to adjust. But I'll guarantee you, not all these kids are gonna be able to do that, and it's gonna be
Yeah.
very hard.
Yeah.
It's definitely gonna be an adjustment. So since we're talking about mental emotional aspects, so I have some students who just would not log on, just
Wow.
won't. And so, and I also do home visits from the porch, because at the end of the day, if these kids do not graduate, then
Mm-hmm.
they go back to the counselor, teacher, and the principal. So
Mm-hmm.
even though that's not required, sometimes you just have to do a little bit more. And so when the parents call and say, I can't get my child out of the bed, then that's an issue. So what's happening is, I commend you all, first of all, for doing things outside of, taking an active role in doing something with your children, other than that, because it is taking a mental, emotional toll on them.
Mm-hmm.
But guess what? Our parents don't have that.
Right.
It's not, either they don't have the tools to do that, or they are working so hard
Mm-hmm.
that the students are basically raising themselves.
Yep.
So, as far as mental emotional aspect, let's just put something in perspective. Students sit at a computer all day long. I went into overload because I was on Microsoft Teams for almost 2 hours, and I thought I was going to lose it.
We live on teams, girl.
You know what I mean? So we are asking people who are their brains are still developing,
Yeah.
to sit still and to pay attention for hours at a
Mm-hmm.
time. Also, what's very ironic to me is that this generation they're not really, they have a lot of work to do socially.
Mm-hmm.
When we were growing up, we were outside a lot,
All day long.
things of that nature. But we have to understand it was a different time. That was a totally different time. It's amazing to me that they aren't really social, but the social aspect is really taking a toll. I don't know if that makes any sense
They
whatsoever.
they social, but they ain't social.
They
Yeah.
social, but they're not social.
Yeah.
And so being in the house all day can cause problems. Think about your students whose parents work all day,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't have an opportunity to get out.
Yep.
So just think about you being in your house for days and months, and you don't leave.
Yeah.
That will definitely take a mental toll on you. And we have to also remember, this generation, they're very intelligent.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot was presented to them as a face in 2020. So
Yeah.
not only did we have a pandemic, we had racial injustice, we
Yeah.
had social injustice, we had a lot of people passing away. People die every day, but
Yeah.
a lot of people that they were familiar with died. So there was a lot of trauma. There
Yeah.
was a lot of trauma. So what I suggest to parents is that you have to have candid conversations with your children,
Yep.
students. You got to keep that line of communication open. And guess what? Their reality is their reality.
Mhm.
Right,
Whether
right.
you whether you agree with it or not,
Yeah.
their reality is their reality, and it is so real to them. So
Yeah.
you have to meet the children where they are, and
Mhm.
you have to get them help. I'm gonna go ahead and touch on this since we're on mental emotional. Counseling is so taboo in African American culture. But what we don't realize is that it is hitting us at rocket speed rates. Okay. It's really having a toll on our young men. Okay. So we have to recognize if our children are telling us, if the students are saying, hey, you know what, I'm feeling down, I'm feeling depressed, do not blow it off.
Right.
When I first got back, I had two African American females be admitted for suicide
Oh
attempts
wow.
Wow.
twice, right? So what I'm saying is because parents, one young lady said, "Hey, can you just tell my mom I'm not good?" Mom was like, "She's all right. She's just playing. She wants some attention." Let me tell you something. This day and age, if they tell you something, you got to pay attention.
Yeah.
Pay attention to it. Now, do we have students who manipulate that? Yeah. They'll tell you that in a minute because they didn't do their work because they was out doing
Right.
what they were supposed to do. I mean, doing other things that they weren't supposed to do. But it's
Facts.
real, y'all. And
Mhm.
we have to have that conversation because if we don't have that conversation with our children, they're going to seek guidance elsewhere. And also, it's going to be a cycle,
Yeah.
cycle. So when they have children, then what are they taught? Oh, we don't talk about this. We don't
Yep.
recognize this. So you depressed? No, you're not depressed. You're not depressed. And so what happens? They have children, and we continue the cycle.
Yeah.
So we have to have candid conversations, and these kids are more exposed to mental illnesses and mental disorders more than we were
Mhm.
Yeah.
because it's everywhere. You know what I'm saying? It's social media. They see everything. So it's real to them. So
Yeah.
it's very important that we don't throw that under the rug. We don't slide it under the rug. If your children come to you and they say, hey, this is what I'm dealing with, this is what I'm feeling, you
Mhm.
have to pay attention and you have to be ready for hard conversations
Yeah.
Mhm.
because they come in my office and tell it all.
Yep.
I bet.
They come in my office and tell it all, and all I'm saying is, Lord, please don't say anything. So I got to do CPS report. But sometimes
Dang. Ooh,
that's what it is.
Yeah.
that used
That's
to
what
be
it
my
is.
prayer. Like, oh, I hope
Yeah,
I don't have to tell on you. What?
yeah, yeah. It is, y'all. But it's deep, and it's deep in the house. I'm gonna give y'all one. I'm gonna tell you all this how it's really affecting students. So let's say, for instance, I had a situation where the young lady is the oldest. Remember, I'm in high school, oldest of seven. Both parents have COVID. Guess
Oh,
who's in charge of the other children
the
to getting
high
them
school girl.
online?
Oh no.
So you're asking a 16-year-old to be in charge of six younger children, get them logged on, do her work. She's frustrated. She's upset. Mom calls you crying because she feels like she's, basically putting everything on her child. But
Mhm.
that's just the reality we're living in.
Yeah.
And so I really hope that people, if they don't learn anything in this pandemic, we learn empathy and patience.
Yeah.
Empathy and patience, y'all. People are going through these
Mhm.
home visits. You would be surprised with some of the living conditions. Some don't have food to eat, they don't have a lot, and then we expect them to be on the computer for 8. And I think Ken hit it on the nail, hit the whatever the saying is. Y'all know I done got all wrapped up. You know what I'm saying? What I'm saying is we're operating education like we're not in the pandemic.
Yep.
We
Right,
have to
right.
do things differently. We have to do things differently, and it's okay. I think some people don't want to do things differently because we're afraid of change. You know, I am a firm believer. I am not a fan of this pandemic, but let me tell you something. Pandemic has brought out creativity, it has brought out innovation, and
Yeah.
it has exposed some things that we need to tackle,
Mhm.
especially as it comes to education and family life.
And you know what's crazy? When we always talk about social media and the word social media.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But because these kids have grown up in the social media era, they're not social. right?
Right.
What we deem to be social. Because when we
Right.
say social, we mean going and talking to another human being, like face
Right.
to face and interacting and not being awkward. But they'll be in the same room, standing 6 feet away from somebody, and text them instead of just
Yes.
saying, "Hey, man, you got something on your face." They'll text it to them, and I'm like, "This is crazy to me that they interact like this." But now it's like that's their only means
That's
of
the norm.
communication, right, with their friends
Right.
now, because they can't see them. They can only talk to them through social media and through text
Yep.
and on the video game. So for my son, I think that's been his biggest thing is his friends. He can't kick it with them, but they get on the video game together and they play the
Mm-hmm.
video game together.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that socially has been redeeming for them, but not all kids are able to do that.
Right.
Right.
So
Right. Right.
My
And
kids
because,
fall.
go ahead, Jack.
No, I was saying my kids fall under that. Like all they got is each other. Like they don't have that village of little cousins to run around and play with, and
Mm-hmm.
it's just them two, man. And they miss people. Like yeah,
Yeah, it's big, y'all. And while I'm thinking about it, since we're on this topic of just kind of social, mental, emotional, for those of you all who have children, y'all got to be creative with the children. You got to find fun stuff for you all to do as a family.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that it may seem kind of cheesy, but I think it works. If for children who experience some type of anxiety or some type of depression, you want to build what we call a
Mm-hmm.
calming corner or a box. So whenever they start to feel overwhelmed, whenever they're starting to be antsy, let's get a box. Let's put something to draw.
Mm-hmm.
Let's put some colors. And even big kids love to color. You know
I.
what I mean? They
Mm-hmm.
they love to cook. Even adults, we love to cook. So things of that nature, Play-Doh, different things of that nature. So when they're feeling anxious, they can go into that area of the house. It's a safe place for them. And if you see your student or you see your child, like, that's when you can start the conversation. Well, hey, I noticed you over here in the corner. What's going on with you? And then just talk to them. I'm telling you, that goes a long way because a lot of them feel like they're not heard. They're
Yeah.
not heard at home. And so they're going to start to seek validation from wherever they can be heard.
Yep.
okay, we've touched on a lot of different stuff, but one thing I want to also ask you about before we wrap up is
Okay.
with the social aspect of it, with the racism and all the crazy stuff that's been going on during the pandemic. As far as that goes, like, have you seen kids come in and want to talk to you more about that, or talk about how that has affected them? Because for us, I tell people all the time, for me growing up, in the 80s, and I was, we moved to Lancaster, Texas in like 86. So back then, Lancaster's demographic was totally different. So a lot of people hadn't had to deal with racism. And my son asked me, had I been called the N word before, in a racial tone, not a term of endearment, but a term of terribleness. And I told him, yeah, as a kid, 8 years old, that was my first time being called that, right here in Lancaster, Texas. So I've had to deal with that, but these kids hadn't really had to deal with that type of stuff, and it hadn't really been in their face like it has been during the pandemic. And because we're sitting so still and there's not really a lot going on, it's even more pronounced because it's all they see and it's all
Right.
they hear about. So have the kids come to you and talk to you about that?
Just a few. I had one of my young men come in today, just kind of, talking about, and he's fearful, about transitioning to college
Mm-hmm.
because he thinks it's just not safe for young black boys
Mm-hmm.
right,
to
right,
do that. And and this may not have been the best advice, but I just told him, like, we live in a world with two sets of rules. That's just what it
yeah,
is.
That's
But
real.
we live in a world with two sets of rules. But here's the thing. I think when we have to reinforce to our children how smart they are, how intelligent they are, and how gifted. And we have to continue to pour into them. So when they get these type of racial slurs or when they are, these different biases,
Mm-hmm.
things. They know how to handle it.
Yeah.
And we have to be truthful, with our students. I know, for some of them, you know, they they kind of live in a world where mom and dad just kind of shelter them from this. But the fact of the matter is, you have to have a conversation with them. We talk to my nephew about that all the time, like how you have to do a little bit more. You have to do a little bit more in order to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he's 14. He's tall, fair skinned, dude, not to say that means anything, but he's already, getting that type of treatment, that colorism treatment as well. So we have to have that conversation,
Mm-hmm.
you know, where they like me because I'm light skinned, or I like her because she dark, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Right. You've had that. So
I
not
grew up in it, so I know.
yes. So not only do we have to talk about, kids come in and talk about that aspect, but we also have to talk about the colorism that lies within us.
Right.
That lies, and we have to have these candid conversations. So yes, I've had it. They're just kind of fearful. And he kind of said he's just kind of numb, and it just breaks my heart that a 17-year-old is just kind of numb to
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
just the social injustice. But just reassuring them that they are great, and they are smart, and they work hard. You got to validate them. You got to validate them and make sure they're good. So I haven't had too many conversations about it, but there have been a few, and they've been very, very productive. And I just don't want them to live their life in fear.
Yeah.
Okay, before we get out of here, I have one last question. As a counselor, as an educator, how do you think, or is there something that you can tell us that that you think might work as far as these kids recovering from this, like when they return to school, like what's going to be needed in order for them, to make that transition back in a most successful way, from your professional standpoint.
First of all, we're gonna have to have a lot of counselors on board.
Mm.
We're gonna have to meet these students, and we have a thing called social emotional learning
Mm-hmm.
in our district, but we're gonna have to amp it up.
Yeah.
That's going to be the biggest thing. You cannot teach a child anything if what they call these basic needs. In counseling, you always talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I don't know if you have ever heard of that
Yeah.
before. But in order to even get to that top of self-actualization, we got to get our needs met. So
Right.
it's going to be very important that we get them some extra social and mental emotional work. We literally probably need to pause, take 45 minutes out of our school day and just focus on mental health.
Mm.
I think that's going to be big. Also, parents, you got to be involved. So once they come back, I reference
Mm-hmm.
like PTA and different things, but y'all, we really need to see you all on campus. Even, sometimes my mom was very involved, like, oh Lord, Lord, here she come, she got to be doing the most. But I appreciated that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they went a long way. And I don't know if anybody's ever told you this, and people probably don't want to tell you this. You have a tendency to really take care of children when the parents involved.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Those very very active parents. You always want to make sure their kids, or you want to make sure all kids are good, but those active ones, you really
Yeah.
want to take care of those. So being active, and making sure we have some more social emotional learning, like actually take time out of the day. I think those are going to be the two biggest things. And then also just making sure that everybody is empathetic. Teachers are tired, parents are tired, administrators, but we have to come out and figure out, say, we're all tired, but how can we fix it? We got to just have these candid conversations in order for us to move forward. So that's my thing.
Okay, so what we usually do is we usually go around and do like a little closing words, but I mean, I don't know if you want to use that as your closing words because that was pretty poignant, you know what I'm saying? Unless
And
you got some other stuff you want to say to close it out or leave us with something powerful, you know what I'm saying? Go right ahead, but that was on point. So,
you know what? I don't. I mean, I think I said a lot. I
yeah.
hope I didn't talk too much. You know what I'm saying?
Nah.
I'm
You need
passionate
to
about
hear
this
that.
stuff.
Really.
I'm
Nah, we
passionate about it.
hey, we sitting here, we learning, we
Right.
soaking this in. We trying to make the best of our for our kids. So, you know what I'm
Right.
saying, the stuff that you told us today gives us something to think about, as well as the viewers. So, like I said, that's why
Yeah.
we was kind of quiet. We listening.
Oh,
Right.
y'all
Yeah.
listening? All right,
Yeah,
then.
and it helps me on both end as
Yeah,
a parent
Jackie.
and like I plan on going back to teach next year.
Okay.
So like what
Woo,
I'm
woo.
actually getting myself into and how
Yeah.
can I be a help? You know what I'm saying? And what the kids are actually gonna need. Like that I have kind of like a guideline of what to ask them for. I'm asking,
Yeah.
just to kind of pick their brain and just kind of pay a little bit more attention than I wouldn't have never like even think to just start there with those candid conversations and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. And these kids are smart.
yeah,
That's what I'm saying. Y'all, they pay attention.
and I
They are
tell you,
they pay attention and they pay more attention to what you do than what you say.
Oof.
Mm.
right,
So you know what I'm saying? You can tell them you love them all day long, but you ain't showing them no love. That
Ex-
goes out the window.
yeah,
Hello.
definitely,
So it's very important that you, like I said, candid conversations. Give them. Oh, this is another thing. I do need to point out. Then I'm going to say, I'm going to let this go. For those of you all who have people who have cell phones, kids who have cell phones,
Mm.
y'all, we have to take breaks. They really that light from the cell phone interferes with their happy hormones. It is very hard for them to sleep. It's very important that while we're at home, make sure they're eating healthy. I know it's easier said than done, but their diets are important and make sure they get a lot of water. I know it seems very, elementary, but let me tell you something. Water helps their energy level a lot. So make sure they stay out of that. Like my nephew, I just bought some juice from Sam. I'm trying to figure out why the whole gallon almost gone. And you had some water, sir? You know what I mean? So it's just little things like that. And but the most thing, just make sure that you can have candid conversation. That's the biggest thing. They love it. As much as they say y'all get on their nerves. When they come to my office, I don't want to disappoint my mom. I don't want to disappoint my dad.
yeah,
They been showing out at y'all house all day. They don't want to
Mm-hmm.
disappoint you.
Yeah.
Hmm.
They don't want to disappoint their parents.
Nope.
So yeah, but that's
Facts.
it. Yeah, that's it. Just candid conversation, y'all. Let's just talk about it. Let's talk. Make sure we keep that mental illness conversation going, and make sure we always let them be free to talk, and because their truth is their reality.
Right.
That's facts. And y'all, I'm telling you, Sharonda might have her own podcast soon. Just keep your
man,
eyes
right?
just keep your
That's
eyes
what,
open, keep your eyes out. You know what I'm saying? I'm
yeah,
gonna try to work with her a little bit. I'm gonna try to talk to her a little bit. But yeah,
Oh man. Well, thank you for having me. This was my first podcast. I was super nervous, but first podcast.
no reason to
yeah,
be super
man.
So
nervous.
thank
You did an
y'all.
awesome job.
Thank
You
you.
represented. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So
I enjoy education. I enjoy school counseling. So yes, thank you all for having me. I appreciate it.
that's why we went and got you. We knew you was good.
Ah,
Yeah,
We had faith in you.
well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Jack Cannon, talk to the people before we get out of here, my brother.
man. Thank you. I want to say thank you for this information, definitely, because I really had some like, wow, Jack, you need to get it together, like as a parent,
Amen.
definitely. So I'm going to try to implement this and get some things going, baby steps,
Baby steps.
until that situation changes. Because if I go back, they go back. So
Right.
so they got to be ready to transition pretty soon. But
Thanks.
thank you. This has been fun. Like I learned a lot. I really learned a lot. That's all I got. If you want to get at me, you can follow me on Instagram at
Right.
Jack underscore Cannon underscore photography. You can hit me up on my business line 214-713-3832 for that Canon. Um, also, man, I'm so excited about this because it's new. I know y'all got them W-2s. Don't play. Hit your boy up. I'm doing taxes. You know what I'm saying?
Oh.
Holla at your boy. I'm trying to get my entrepreneur. I'm trying to get these different streams. Yeah, hustle, man. Hustle, man. Got the taxes, baby. We gonna get that match. No.
Sandwiches.
But yeah, hit me up, man. But again, I want to say thank you. I want to end with that because that was amazing. You did an amazing job. Like,
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So are we doing plugs? Are we doing
yeah,
plugs?
drop
Yeah,
that
yeah,
plug.
yeah.
Oh
You got a
yeah.
plug. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Okay,
throw some
so
flowers so we can catch it. Catch it. We need that.
so so I am venturing. I've been doing flowers. So I love flowers. So you can hit me up on social media at busy. It's BUSY Breeze BRES Florals. And that is me. And Valentine's Day is coming. So
Facts.
please hit me up. Now I'm only gonna do so many. I'm only one person, but yes, please hit me. I didn't know we were doing plugs, so I'm a flower lady too. So so please hit me up.
Yeah, advertise all you need. That's what
Yes.
we're here for. You doing the service for us. You came and gave us some information. So at the end of the show, that's what we like to do for our guests. Give them an opportunity to get some shout outs or whatever. At first Jack wasn't shouting out his business. He was shouting out his partners back home. You know what I'm
Yeah, 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 man. 2021, we doing something different, man.
saying?
We
So
trying to get this money.
yeah. So we just like to have fun, but we also like
Okay.
to give everybody an opportunity to talk about the other ventures as well. So that's what we do. So y'all get some flowers, please. You know what
Get
I'm
some
saying? That's
flowers.
what's up. Daisy J, talk to the people before we get up out of here because I know you got some products
Let's
you pushing.
go. I know.
I
Look, she
mean,
flawless, man. Flawless. I saw
so
she
thank
turned on the fan one time. I seen the hair blowing,
I
girl.
cannot stand him first of all. My beauty supply fan, y'all like that? Y'all like this? Okay.
Uh,
So stop it, Jackie. All right. On some real. Okay, let me fix my mic. My bad. Okay, y'all. Thank y'all so much for tuning in tonight. Like this was dope. She was just confirming everything that I already do. I want to say though, as my little nugget for the night before I plug all these businesses that I know and partner with. Um, Parents who work in corporate America, they have this thing where it's like EPA or something like that, where you have this
Yeah.
benefit of like 8 mental health visits a year
oh,
or a
wow.
lifetime. They also offer that for your kids too. So if you're trying to get your kid into some counseling sessions, go to for just to see what's up. And if you like it, pay out of pocket for whatever else. I mean, I'm saying it from experience because, as y'all know, we lost my grandmother a couple of months ago. So I've been going to grief counseling. And my kids, I'm getting them set up as well, not necessarily for the grief part of it, but because of everything that's going on. And then, like I said in last week's show, me and my oldest daughter, we at pretty much a battle when it comes to her and her dad. And I don't want her to be resentful towards him. I want her to be able to communicate her feelings. So, as a parent, that's what I was able to do. So, shout out to your employers. Find out what kind of benefits y'all got. Y'all sitting up there making all this money and not using their resources. So do that. Um,
Facts.
Continue to like, share, and subscribe. The Daisy J Show. I am on Google and I'm also on Spotify. The website is down because we're setting up some newness. But if you just want to see this face, I'm just saying, my girl Runny over at Runny Romance. She got some greatness going down. I was one of her models for these new products that she is laying out there for y'all. So go to www.ronnies/romance.com for your Valentine Day needs. Today's beat is Juvia's Place. These beautiful, wonderful lashes are from the beauty supply. Hey, get it. I didn't have nobody to plug. I'm waiting on these new lashes to come through. Continue to support your girl. If you need some beats, get at me. Ken, what's up?
Y'all already know you can holler at me at Big Ken's Comedy on IG, Big Ken's Comedy on Twitter, Big Ken's Comedy on Facebook. You can also catch me every Wednesday at 7 p.m. on Keeping Up the Conversation Live with my co host, Tori. We have a bunch of great guests on that show. It's a little bit different from the 5 Session podcast, but very interesting. So tune in on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. as well. We have a lot of great stuff going on with the show. We like to bring you content that we feel like you can take something with you at the end of the day, something that can help you. Very informative. So if you all have information on topics or something like that you would like for us to discuss, go to the 5 Session podcast page, send us a message, and let us know topics that you would like to see us discuss. Or if you have people that you want to see on the actual show that you think could come on and hold their own, we'll take those suggestions too, because we at the end of the day we just want to make sure that you get what you need as the viewer and it's entertaining for you.
Right.
Again, we want to thank Sharonda, we want to thank Jack, we want to thank Daisy, and y'all already know how we do it every week. We end the show same way as we always do. Let me hit my little effects. At the end of the day, it's not lit, it's fire. Peace.